Maybe it's connected, maybe it's not, but two provinces in Canada are rolling back COVID restrictions as truckers continue their freedom convoy in the Canadian capital of Ottawa.
Might have had something to do with that. Alberta ended its vaccine passport program this morning and will end masking for school children on Monday. Saskatchewan will also end vaccine passports on Monday. And then only yesterday, though, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was praising mandates when demanding truckers stop their protest.
We're all frustrated. We're all sick and tired of restrictions, of mandates, of having to make sacrifices, of not being able to do the things we love. It's been 2 years. I can understand frustrations with mandates, but mandates are the way to avoid further restrictions.
But then you also have Trudeau.
But that is a restriction.
Exactly. You have Trudeau and others calling these truckers insurrectionists at this point. So here to talk a little bit more about this is former senior advisor to President Trump and CEO of Getter, Jason Miller. Jason, thank you for joining us, first of all.
Good to be with you.
So we hear this term insurrectionist being thrown around now. We've heard it thrown around before, and it seems to be what follows is, a threat to free speech.
Well, exactly. What we're seeing here is really the latest form of cancel culture. And so if you refuse to comply, if you're someone who's trying to express your opinion or your voice, and it has something that's, say, in contrast to what the government is pushing with regard to mandates and lockdowns and things of that nature, then they immediately go to insurrectionists. Or Justin Trudeau yesterday even invoked some pretty racist imagery to talk about the truck drivers of Canada, this is the lifeblood of the Canadian economy. Keep in mind, Justin Trudeau was the person who took a knee at a BLM rally back in the summer of 2020. So he's against the truckers voicing their free speech, but then he's fine with BLM. And I can tell you right now in Canada, they're not chanting, "Let's go, Justin." They're saying something else.
No euphemism there. Yeah. The feeling I get almost with these truckers is they represent a lot of people that can't be there themselves. And that people in America may not understand the whole dynamic, but what they see are citizens trying to get a message across to the government, and the government is not listening. And I almost feel, Jason, like this is going to happen here if the Biden administration is not careful. I mean, whether they get truckers driving from LA to Washington, I kind of vision if this keeps up, you're going to have like a freedom march in May. With 1 million people in D.C. saying, listen to us, we're done, we're moving on.
Well, actually, I have some news on that. I've heard that Brian Bray's and the truckers to D.C. convoy is actually going to launch on March 4th. Okay. And so they're going to drive from California to Washington, D.C. to raise this exact same point. And the fact of the matter is we have so many people who are frustrated by these, again, the mandates, the lockdowns, and the government isn't paying attention.
That's the problem.
And here's the thing. So many members of the mainstream media are taking that further step, much in the same fashion as Trudeau. In fact, the Globe and Mail, which is kind of the failing New York Times of Canada for people who don't read Canadian newspapers, they were out there saying that this trucker convoy isn't popular at all in Canada. It's something for the U.S., Europe, and other people around the world for their right-wing activists to get riled up. Except, as you pointed out, Alberta and Saskatchewan are now reversing the policy, so clearly it's having an impact.
Yeah, speaking of the little guy and who's representing the little guy and the everyday mom and pop, that's why President Trump was successful, because people felt that no one was listening to them. And I see that trend happening again.
Yeah, no, and a lot of it too, you made a really smart point earlier about the fact that this is representing the folks who can't be there themselves. And I think back to the way that President Trump raised, say, the issue of manufacturing jobs. Then maybe a lot of people might not be in manufacturing themselves, but he's standing up for that industry. Or we see these truck drivers saying, why should we have to have these mandatory passports or wear masks? I mean, we're in trucks, for goodness sake. Who are we going to go and breathe on while we're in a truck? And putting these people under this duress. But now it's good to see that actually some of the governments are being responsive. That's why I do think you'll see the convoy here in the U.S. And I think it is going to make a lot of people wake up.
Responsive now because they're seeing the polling and they're seeing how this is not working and how it's impacting people.
I think you have kids in school. they probably have to wear a mask, because I know the area you live in. What's that feel like? Is there frustration that you still feel about this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, fortunately, we have Governor Youngkin, who's now in charge in Virginia, and so they've gotten rid of a lot of the.
I'm down there too.
They got rid of a lot of the masks and said for kids they don't have to. I mean, that's exactly what the science says. But I think there is a big pushback, not even just about the local governments, but I think Dr. Anthony Fauci, I think the federal government, people really have a lot of anger. They're saying we're 2 years in. The science is saying that the masks don't work. Why do you keep pushing this on us?
And how come it's an emergency after 2 years? I mean, isn't there, I don't know if it's statutory, there should be a limit on emergencies, right?
Well, and only one mask. I'm old enough to remember when Dr. Fauci said you had to wear 2 masks, that one mask wasn't really effective. But
well, now it has to be the N95 masks, some of which are made in China, right?
Exactly. We still haven't replenished the supply there, so I don't know what Biden's doing, but he's not making masks.
And the COVID test. An emergency use authorization benefits pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, and we get we ordered some tests. We haven't gotten the test, and we're waiting on the crack pipes. So that comes next. The government distributing those. Thank you, Jason Miller.
Thank you both.